Hello, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. To the new subscribers, welcome and thank you for subscribing. To those who haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing as it will help me grow my channel and make more content for you guys. Today, I want to talk about my experience using shrooms, why I use them, what I got out of it, and what my takeaway is from using ayahuasca, iboga, and then shrooms. So I took my first shrooms with a friend. We're sitting at a bonfire, and it was a great experience. Like, just this, what I got from it in that first experience is just awareness and getting in touch with my inner child. I remember just laughing a lot, and it was great. I didn't take too much on that day. I don't even know what the dosage was because she really didn't measure. I don't recommend that you do that. Always measure your medicine if you're going to be using it. It is safer that way. The next trip that I did on my own, and it was the biggest dose I've taken, which is 3 grams. And let me tell you, it was not good. I did not enjoy it, and in the moment it wasn't good. I had the worst thoughts and emotions go through me. I didn't want to be here anymore. I was mad at everybody. I was mad at God. I was mad at anything. You can name it. I was just mad. I was over it. I felt so disconnected from just my inner self and spirit. And just looking at this life in general, in that trip, I was questioning, like, what was the point to life? Like, what was the point to all this? That trip brought out all my demons that I have about living this life. Most of the time in the past, I spent it not wanting to be here, really just wanting to exit this world. And that trip brought all of that out. I did not have fun, and it went on forever. The medicine just wouldn't go away. I think at some point I just wanted it to stop, and it wouldn't. The next few days, I was still dealing with the emotions of what came out of that trip. And I'm going to say, after a few days, I understood why I went through the emotions that I went through. See, what I didn't know was that shrooms have a tendency to bring out to the surface the very thing that is no longer working for you, that you need to let go. I knew that you had to be in a good headspace to do it. And the biggest mistake that I did was I went on this trip when I had a bad day. I had a bad week, really. Like, I was just, things were not going well at work, and I was just in this space where I was just not happy. So I did shrooms under those conditions. I don't recommend it. Don't do that. Okay? That's not good. Nothing good comes out of that. Believe me. Anyways, after a few days, thank God that in each and everything that I do, I'm always guided and I'm always protected, and I might not get answers in the morning, but they do tend to come. Like, my higher self and my spiritual team have been so good at doing that for me. After a few days, when I was just like quiet, like minding my own business, mind you, I was still in the funk. I literally like just heard this small voice just telling me, like really calling me out, like, you expect us to do everything for you, but that's not our job. We are here to support you and to help you as you make the decisions. You have to make the decisions. You have to choose what's best and what's right for you. Once you make that decision, we are always with you, and we're always gonna help you along the way. So it was a wake-up call. I guess what I realized about myself, like, honestly, I think, and this is just me, I don't know if many people are like this. What happens is that when you start on this journey of awakening, self discovery, personal development, whatever you want to call it, and you hear all these things like the law of attraction, you manifest your life, this, that, and the other. I was under the impression, I guess, that like, listen, let me just connect, and when I connect, then everything's gonna fall into place. That was my assumption. Like, you know what? All you need to do is to just ascend, get to the top, wherever the heck you're supposed to get to, and once you're connected, everything is just gonna come out. That's what they say. Like, you just think it and it happens. Guess what? It doesn't work that way. What I've since learned after that experience is that this life is a school. You're here to learn and to grow and to expand yourself, expand your consciousness. And that's not going to happen by somebody telling you what to do. Like, yeah, you got your spirit guides, your angels, souls, whatever you want to call it, that is there to help you along the way. But guess what? They're never going to make the decisions for you. They're never going to tell you what to do. You get to decide, like, okay, this is where my heart is calling me, this is where I feel I need to go. So that was the biggest lesson for me. And after that, like, looking back, I wouldn't even call it a bad trip, to be honest. It's just something that I needed to experience, I needed to know, I needed to get out of, like, I was in a passive mode in my life, I guess, where like I just go passively, where I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna stay positive, and I'm gonna look on the positive side of things. I'm gonna keep the faith. I know it's gonna happen, but really just waiting for things to happen. You know what I mean? Like, where you just waiting for a sign, waiting for something. And my biggest takeaway from that is that there's no one to wait for. If you're waiting for anybody, the only one you're waiting for is yourself. You gotta make that decision. You gotta decide where you want to go. You decide, and everything will follow you as you go. So there is a verse in the Bible. It's somewhere in Isaiah. Don't quote me. Don't remember it anymore. But it says, whether you turn to the left or to the right, you will hear a voice saying that this is the way, and to walk in it. And when I think about that, it just reminds me, like, you actually have to be moving for the instructions to come, for the direction to come. You can't just sit in one spot and wait, because nothing is coming until you move. You get to move, and everything lines up to match up where you are. So that was the biggest lesson that I got from there. I did go on to have several trips of mushrooms on a lower dose. So I found that most of the time I used to go to ayahuasca to get my biggest downloads, and then throughout, like, sometimes I just don't have time. It was just easier to just say, like, on a Friday night, I'm gonna do a little ceremony for myself, just to connect with my truth and find out what I need to deal with. So this is what I got out of mushroom when I used it. I found that whenever I use mushroom, it would show me the areas in my life that I needed to deal with that were not working for me anymore. Like, for example, like just having insecurities on stepping forward, like, oh, I want to do this, but I have fears, like, oh, I haven't seen a sign, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or whatever. So really, like, during the mushroom trips, it helped me connect with my higher self, my subconscious, and just really get the truth from there. And what I used to do was that whatever truth that I get from there, that's how I used to navigate my day-to-day life. So for example, if something happens that is in contradiction to what I know to be my truth, I could just brush it off and just say, hey, that's just the world doing what it does, but this is where I stand, and this is my truth. And that's how I used it. The other thing, I gotta say, what I did love about my mushroom, which I still do love about them, is that a mushroom trip is very different from like ayahuasca and iboga. I it allowed me, like whenever I did a mushroom trip, so let's say I wanna work on I'll use like loving myself for example. The way the information comes is very slow, in the sense that I'll get like a vision, like you don't love yourself because of this issue. So I could really just go deep in with that and just release it in the moment. It didn't go as fast. Like ayahuasca is like everything just goes by so fast. Like 30 seconds you see this, next second you're seeing something else. It is so fast. You really don't get the opportunity to work through whatever is coming up through ayahuasca. You deal with it after. It's almost like you use an ayahuasca trip to just gather as much information as you can, and then when you go back to your day-to-day life, you start to now dissect it and integrate it into your life. And that's all good and well, but with mushroom, what I realized is kind of like whatever comes up, I could work through it in the trip, and once it's done and it's resolved, there wasn't any integration needed after the trip. That was my experience. So yeah, so I did go back to it from time to time whenever I feel like honestly the biggest thing that drove me to mushrooms is like sometimes I was just not confident in myself, so, just not confident in my life. Like yeah, in my head I kind of know I have a vision for my life and I feel like I'm on the right path, but sometimes I just feel so lost, y'all. Like just like I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know if I'm on the right track or whatever you want to call it, and I just need a boost. I need to connect. I need to reconnect, and yeah, so mushroom was good for that. um I have to say though, if you are considering doing a mushroom trip, please do your research. Do your research. If I understand correctly, don't quote me on this because I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't do any research. I just did. Okay, don't do what I did. I don't advise that. Do your research, because from my understanding, if you got high blood pressure, that's not good. You can't use mushroom under those conditions because it does something to your body. I don't know what it does. I don't have high blood pressure, so I didn't have to worry about that. But it really does help. Like if you're really thinking of working through your issues and resolving your issues, for me it really did help me do that. um I gotta say, when it comes to all these things, like all these plant medicines, there is no magic pill. I really just want to emphasize that. Yeah, you can go and do ayahuasca. Yeah, you can do iboga, peyote, uh, San Pedro, whatever you want to do. These things are not magic pills. If you're not doing the work, if you're not working on yourself, and you're just expecting this one thing to come and fix you, if that's your idea, then don't even bother. Don't do it. Just, you're not going to get whatever it is that you think it's going to do for you. It's not. If you're working on yourself, if you're already working on yourself and you're like, okay, you know what, I need a little bit of assistance, I need some tools to help me navigate this, I am working through this, I'm not depending on this particular item to fix me, I'm just using it as an aid, then yeah, by all means, go for it. Go for it. I've seen many people who've partaken plant medicine and say, well, it didn't work for me. Well, it can only work as much as you do the work. Nothing works without you working with it. Ultimately, you've got to work with the medicine. It doesn't work with you, you work with it and try to resolve whatever issues you're trying to resolve and get to wherever you're trying to get to. So that was my biggest takeaway from doing mushrooms. It just helped me reconnect with my subconscious, with my higher self, and really just know the truth for what it is, like my truth. Mushrooms just really helped me connect with my truth. I already had my truth and I just needed something to help me reconnect to that, and that was the biggest reason why I was using mushrooms. Now, if I was to look at both of the, like all the things that I've used, which is I've done ayahuasca, I've done iboga, I've done San Pedro, and I've done mushrooms, I've done rapé. Yeah, plenty of things. But just talking about psychedelics in general, if I was to advise anybody who's thinking like, you know what, I want to try it, what should I start with? I would suggest that you start with shrooms, because shrooms are not they're not as hard as ayahuasca. You know, it's kind of like sort of like dipping your toes and getting used to it, and just getting used to what it feels like to have your consciousness expanded, like to just have an expansion in your consciousness. It does give you it gives you the space to do that. And also with mushrooms, my suggestion is like, do it when you're in a great mood. This is not something that you do when you feel like crap, because nothing good ever comes out of that. You do it when you're feeling good. And if you're gonna do it with other people, do it with people that you trust, that you feel safe with. Otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't recommend that you do them with just about anybody. And if it's your first time doing mushrooms and you've never done any psychedelics whatsoever, and you wanna learn, you wanna have this experience, don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. I don't recommend it. Just don't do it. You're better off if you just need somebody that you can trust to be there, because sometimes you experience things that are not normal for you and you freak out. And if you freak out, then you have a bad trip, and that's not good either. So don't do that. But yeah, mushrooms are great. I love them. The last thing I just want to talk about is, if you do ever decide to do plant medicine, whichever one you decide to do, please, 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 whatever you do, make sure you ground yourself, okay? Because what happens, my personal experience is that, like, your consciousness is expanded whenever you use these type of medicines. And you get to connect with your soul, with your spirit. And what happens is that when you connect to the truth of who you are, and you start remembering who you are, you might just not want to be here on earth anymore. I went through that when I was going through my growth, my awakening, and I started to remember the truth. I started to remember me choosing to come into this life. I started remembering all of that, like choosing my family and why I came here in the first place. I didn't want to be here. I was like, okay, all right, we figured it out. I remember the truth. I know who I am now. Can I bounce? And obviously my soul was like, nope, we're not done. You still got work to do. What I would suggest, which I didn't know when I went into plant medicine, is please make sure you ground yourself, okay? Because when your consciousness expands, there is a tendency to just get out of your body, where you just don't feel comfortable in your body, you don't feel comfortable in this life. Don't ask me the metaphysics of it. I'm not pretty good at that. But what I realized is that once I started grounding myself, that's when I started to feel better. That's when I started being okay with my life here. That's when I started being okay with just living my day-to-day life. Now you might be wondering, what is grounding? How do I even do that? Well, there are different ways of grounding. My favorite is just going and spending a couple of hours in the woods and walking and just being in nature. It just brings you back. It just brings all your energy into your body, and it just helps you to connect with everything around you. So it takes away that spacey feeling of like thinking like, yeah, I gotta get the hell out of here. You know, it's good for that. The other thing is like just walking barefoot on the ground, like on grass or on solid ground, you know, on the earth. Walking barefoot. If you can sit down and just plant your feet on the ground and sit there for a little while, it goes a long way. My other favorite way, which I love to use here in Canada, because it does get very cold in winter, and homegirl ain't going out in the cold, So what I usually do is that I use hematite. Hematite has saved my life. Has saved my life. It has brought my energy back into my body when I didn't feel like I wanted to be here. It helped me to ground myself and just really just reacclimate everything into my body. So if you ever decide to do all of this stuff, don't forget to ground. Make sure you're grounding yourself. And remember, like I said before, these are tools, okay? They are not the answer to everything. These are tools that you use to connect to whatever it is you're looking for. So use them to assist you in your journey, not as an answer to everything that you're looking for. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been very helpful to you. Leave a comment below. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Have a lovely day. Bye.